Then we are live. Yes. Hello, and welcome to my Storyboarder Toolbox podcast, or video podcast. Today we are going to take a look at some action storyboards, two actually, that I made a little while ago. One of them I made actually, I think it's 14 or 15 years ago. And the other one I did 3 or 4 years ago. And both are driven by action. Yeah, they have action scenes in them. So, what could I tell you about to work with action in a commercial? When you work with an action film, or a TV series or things like that, then you have a plot which the action has to work together with to tell the story or to heighten the story points and so on. And when you make a commercial, it's more like sometimes you have to fit a style or what's in fashion, and because usually you have to work together with a agency. So sometimes I worked directly with the agency before they have gotten the job. So it's like I helping them to develop the ID or to make a presentation to like a pitch to get the job from the client. It might be a client they already have already, or it might be a pitch to get a new client. So there's always a vital thing for me to do when I go to a meeting like that, and that is to always ask what's the purpose of this storyboard, because the expectation of the client is very important. So if the client is a art director, a creative director, and or the creative team, like a copywriter and art director, they usually have a concept or an idea, and sometimes the idea is not that well developed. They have a concept which work, but they might have multiple ideas, and they want to throw them around with me to see what sticks, and if I have some input or if we can develop them together to see if we can play around with the idea and develop it further. And I do that sometimes, but through the years I've been doing storyboard, what I usually or most often do is like 75%, so like 3/4 of what I do usually has been in commercial, has usually been directly with the commercial director, which means that the agency, they already has sold a job to the client, and they have chosen a director, and he has the job, and he wants to develop the story more like how to say it, like directing on paper, which I like to call it, which means that it's a shooting board. It means that it's like a very good tool for sharing the idea and the vision of the director with the whole team on the set and on the pre-production and under the production. And he can also throw it around with the agency, because usually the agency, they like to have the pitch from the director so they can show it to the client again, because the client usually want to have a word with in every step before they close it. And usually that's a smart thing to do, because if you continue and you do something and the client say that yeah, that's okay, and you can continue to next step and always have it written down, then you don't have the client can't come later and say that no, I didn't like that, because they already agreed to it. Because when you work with commercial, there's so many factors coming to play. It's not only the creative or the artistic choices. It's also the things that's important for the brand, for the product, and so on and so forth. So there's so many things to be considerate about. So yeah. So when the director have a meeting with me, it usually is he have a script. Actually, that also varies a lot. Sometimes the director just have the plot, and he have made something we call a lookbook, which means that you find different kind of images that you mean, or clips of films that you mean, or think that you can you can share the creative direction that he wants to work with or work on. So when I get that, I understand him closer, or his vision a little bit closer, and then he show me the synopsis or the treatment. And usually, because it's like 30 to 60 seconds of a commercial, usually it's not always like that you have a script like you have in a film. It's usually more like a treatment or a synopsis, or very, very rough, crude drawings. I haven't met one director yet that's have a really good draftmanship, but they don't really need it, because their tools is a little bit different than mine. But it helps to even have the crude drawings together with the script, and we talk around it. And sometimes, depends on how much time the director has, I can sit with him and give him very quick thumbnails back. And if we have more time, I can make some rough sketches. And even sometimes he just say, take this video and send me some roughs in a couple of days, and that's just very, very rough drawings with pencil, or if I do it digital, which I usually do today, and then it's just a light gray or a light blue to indicate where close to a pencil, and then I get some feedback, and then I clean it a little bit more, send it, and it's okay. And then I put black and gray, like inking it, or like you did in old days, you use the markers. So I usually mimic the traditional styles, because it's supposed to be a storyboard sketch. I want it to look like a classical storyboard sketch. But the fun thing also with the storyboard for commercial is that you can vary and you can experiment. But again, go back to what I said earlier, that it's always important to ask in the beginning of a project, what do you expect from this work? I even ask, because over the years I have tried different kind of sketches, sometimes with just a brush, sometimes with a pen and a brush, sometimes just with a pencil, and I noticed that with so many, I think I'm storyboarded like between 300 and 350 commercials the last 20-25 years, and very often there are so many different kind of likes and dislikes when it comes down to the style. So I even go to from one job where everybody's happy with this style. If we do one time I did the same style without asking next time, and he was really disappointed, because that wasn't the style he had expected, because he had seen my portfolio or on the website or something. He had seen a storyboard, which was the reason he contacted me, because of that style. And sometimes directors, they have, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a storyboard like they did in Blade Runner or Star Wars or something, because they're also fanboys. So when he got a different sketch than he expected, then he was disappointed. So what I always do now, because this happened many years ago, so what I do now always is what you expect from my delivery. How rough do you like them? How quickly do you want them? What you want me to focus on? And if you ask me, what I like to focus on is the composition, and I'm thinking about the editing, trying to make it more like a shooting board, so it's going to be a tool. But sometimes a director just need just like concept boards. He just need this and that image. He don't need all the details on the other shots. And other directors, they like it very well planned. So that also have a lot to do with the time. So and the budget and things like that. So that's always things I ask about. But in another episode, I can talk about things like that more closely, and I can put some examples or make some examples, because I'm not sure I can show you anything that I have. So perhaps I'm just gonna make a practical a practice case. So yeah. When it comes down to action, in a commercial, I usually just try and follow what style or the ones of the director. And sometimes when I try to understand him more and more, what you want and what style and what you're trying to go for, I always try to get into the concept. What are they trying to do? What have they already started to process? So when I come in with them, I'm going to be a team player. I'm going to take the colors they already have and make a painting with those colors instead of picking my own colors, if you understand what I mean. So that's an important thing. Be a team player and play with the tools that are already there, so that you contribute instead of doing all the hard work they already been doing. And put that to waste, and then they just feel that it's harassment to work with you. So that's very important, actually, to try to be a team player. And then, yeah, if you read comic books, I'm sure you heard about Frank Miller or the Sin City movies. I read an interview with him, and he said that when he in the comics book wanted to slow down the pace, he added more pictures. If he wanted to have more action sequences, then he had fewer images. When I think about action in film, I think about more images. But I'm gonna put one example. If you have a guy running, and you just show the whole sequence of him running, it doesn't necessarily seem like there's a lot of action there. But if you have some close-ups, for example, of the shoe hitting the ground, and then the whole image of him running, you cut it down in two pieces. So you have one when he starts and one when he ends, then and you put the other close up in the middle, then it don't seems like it happening a lot faster. And you have if you have in a fight scene, for example, you can have a lot of close-ups, so you shorten the movement a lot. If you do things like that, it looks like things goes quicker. Of course, there are action scenes when you see the whole body, and because you don't have to cut that much because they move so quickly, and you want to see the whole thing for different reasons. That's another way, but when you start to think like that, then you can do things, and it's not really that you have a one rule that fits everything. It doesn't work like that, at least not for me. I always try to think individual. But when you do practices and you do analysis and you see you can take your DVD player or your it's not so easy with Netflix, but if you have a DVD player, you can put on pause and even slow speed, and you can analyze a fight scene, for example. That's what I have done a lot. So yeah, I just think I'm going to show you the storyboards. I have two storyboards and two film examples that I would like to show you. Okay. The first one is one I did. Yeah, it's like I said earlier, like 14 or 15 years ago. It was for a Norwegian commercial director. His name is Øystein Borge, and in Norwegian, I'm from Norway, and in Norway the O with the slash is Ø, so his name is Øystein Borge. And I don't actually remember the country because it was not a Norwegian commercial, and I think it was from Czechia, or yeah, I think so. I might be wrong because we did some other commercials together also, and I'm not sure if I mixed them up, but because I don't understand the language at the end. So if you know what country this was shown in when you see the film example later, you can send me a comment if you like, and I will add that. But the director is a commercial director. He had a meeting with me, and he told me that this is many years ago, so I have to think a little bit here. Actually, I think he had everything in his head. He just told me frame by frame what he wanted, and I just took notes in my sketchbook, went home, and I actually did everything finished and showed him, and that was it. Yeah, that was it. He had really good... He explained it by also showing with his body, and I think also I did some thumbnails in my sketchbook also on the more difficult things. If I was thinking I didn't understand and things like that, I just asked him, is it like this? And then I made a small thumbnail, and on the other images it was just some text notes I had for every image. But the important thing is always if there's something you're not sure about, ask. Even stupid questions, because it's more stupid to misunderstand something that you could have just asked him on the brief. So yeah, this was done. I didn't really use the vacuum pen that much at that time. I had it, but I didn't really use it for storyboard. I used it more for photo washing and things like that. So this one was done. I think it was done entirely in a pencil brush with an ink cartridge. So yeah. Yeah. So this was done on paper, like ordinary copy paper. And I used a pencil first, and I used the brush, and then I just erased it later, and that's it. Yeah. So first we just one short thing about the aspect ratio. I don't remember, but I think actually we were uncertain of the aspect ratio in this country at the time. It ended up being 16:9, but this is more like a classical. From my childhood in the 80s, we had an aspect ratio like this, but it turned out to be 16:9. So yeah. But anyway, a woman standing in the kitchen, She is preparing some food. It's like one meal in one package, and this is gonna show you how quick and it's going to be to make it. And since the name of the food is uh, Kung Pao, I think it was, yeah, Kung Pao, then it's gonna be Kung Fu style. So she's standing in the middle of the kitchen, and we try to make it a little bit interesting to have it from a more perspective angle. Not, but she's centered in a way. And then we have close up when she just put the package down on the kitchen, not sink, but the kitchen. Sorry, I don't know that word in English. The kitchen, not the table either. Okay, let's call it the sink, beside the sinks, on the side of the sink. And she put it down, and we have the arrow to show the movement. And I use a little bit comic book style of making the impact stripes on the side. And then we go on the side, and we see she turns, and I used some thin lines on where she was standing when it started. I could have put later. I started to use A and B, so but here I did it more like in a comic book style. And she turns around, and we see the arrow is showing where she's gonna kick with the feet. And she's gonna hit the knife on the edge of on the handle of the knife. And before I continue, I just want to show you that this is how I presented storyboard at that time. I had a H3 paper, which is a big, yeah. In America, it's a little bit. If you have a comic book, that's a little bit smaller than ordinary American comic book. It's a little bit smaller than the H4, and the double of H4 is H3. So you can, if you have a centerfold of a comic book, then you have the size little bit bigger than that, but about that size. And then I drew it, and then I copied and minimized it down to the H4 size, so it looks a little bit cleaner, and the lines. It's like the same you do with comic books. That's where I got the idea. And then she hit the handle, and you have an arrow to also indicate that the knife is going up on the other end, and it goes up in the air, and she catches it. So it's a close up, and you can see there's a lot of close ups here, like I talked about earlier. That it's a nice thing to use in a action film. If you see Gladiator with Ridley Scott, he used a lot of that. I think he said that they compared to 2 or 3 shots or images in a fight scenes in the 50s or something like that, then you have like perhaps some 100 or more even in a fight in a scene, just a scene in the Gladiator, or even more. So yeah, so a small close up, and this is a medium shot. This is a little bit so you see a little bit bigger size of the person than half the size, and that's medium shot. And then she comes around, turning around against us in one movement, and with a knife, as the arrow indicates, and then it cuts the top. And then we are over in a bird eye angle, so we see from the roof and down on her, so we can see what she did, and we can see that out of the box came 3 small bags and 1 spice or sauce bag. It's like 1 small and 3 bigger packages. And at the same time, you can also see there's a blade with 2 handles on the side. I think that's for chopping fresh herbs and things like that. and you're gonna see why it's there. I'm showing it now, so it's not a surprise when you use it later. And then she jumps over, and yeah, also an arrow. This is a typical board where there's a smart thing to use arrow, because this is like you're gonna make a fight scene of this to really communicate it to the people who's gonna do this on the set. It's very nice to know how, and this together with the director's notes makes it a lot more easier to understand. And we cut on the side, and yeah, this is very acrobatic, and we see the arrow also shows the movement. And then she lands, and she in the gracious continuous movement, she picks up another knife, and a close-up of the food which is being cut. I think this was chicken or something like that, which is a typical thing they do in food porn. You need to show a lot of close-ups, so you can get some nice colors, and yeah, because that's what you have to play with to get your taste buds starting watering. And then another close-up on the casserole where she's mixing, she's stirring with a spoon, big spoon fork, and then one of the bags is being poured into it. I think it's like spice or something like that. And then close up again of onion being chopped, and then the onion is being put into the casserole while she's stirring. And then the rice in the bag is finished, and I think at that time that was not that usual, at least here in Europe. So this was a new way of making rice very quickly. So you wanted to show that in one scene very, very clearly, and you do that there, and you put it down with a knife instead of on a ordinary kitchen tool. And then, of course, he takes a backflip on one hand, and we can see from behind she goes down and up again and lands closer in the camera. I think this is the comment he had on the he wanted more closer. At least he wanted to indicate that, and he was going to try it out on the set. Yeah, so that's it. She takes up the herb cutting tool and throws it, and it spins around in the air, coming at us and into the camera, and cuts off the top of the rice bag. And continues and it goes directly into a bowl of fruit with a melon or a big, I think it was a melon, a big fruit there, and stops there. And then we see 2 plates with the food finished, and she putting down on the table, and the camera is tilting up, so it on the same axis it just tilts up, and then we see her face. And today I would say that would be like it's one image. It's not 24 and 25. It's 24A and 24B. That would be a more correct way of doing it. Yeah. Yes, and then she see her husband and son entering the room, and oh, what have you been doing? We heard some noises here. Oh, they don't say that. They just open the door and she, welcome, let's eat. Yeah. Yes, that's it. The quality of the film is really I have to ask you forgiveness for the bad quality, because this is, I think it was like 2006, and I found it on the internet on a website. I don't even remember where. Perhaps some commercial advertising website or something that shows commercials, and I just used some screen capture software to copy it. And I tried to find it online, but I can't. But I wanted to show this because I had fun doing the storyboard, and it's part of my history, and it's action. So I don't understand what to say at the end, so please forgive me. I don't understand more than you. But here comes the film. Okay, let's play. Okay. So that was that movie. And the next one is a little bit newer. But the setting here is a little bit different because, like I told you earlier, I also done some work directly with the creative team or the agency, and this is one of those times. I work with a guy called his name is Jason Kinsella. He was the creative director at this agency. Antti is a Norwegian agency, and they had the client Alt eBox, which is everything in one box, if you say it in English. And they provides cable TV and broadband internet. So they were working with an idea for showing how to to show them that we have very good broadband, so you don't have to fight in your family to ask somebody to stop doing something like streaming something because you have a bad or a weak bandwidth. So the message in this was the battle for the bandwidth or the end of the battle for the bandwidth. So when I started working on this, the idea wasn't exactly how it ended. So I think I had like 3 turns. One time we had a lot of characters, and we're gonna use some well-known Norwegian guys. And actually, it's one guy and one girl, but they were the choice was between 2 men. And I'm gonna show you one of the films because it ended up with 2 films, 2 commercials. But in the beginning there was a mix with a lot of people fighting in the same. So they actually there were many rounds with the ideation process, and let me think. We did. Yeah, the first one, the first turn, I think I did. It's like 30 images in 2 days, which is pretty normal. And the next one was I had to redraw because they changed the guy, and they also changed that there were 2 films. So it was like 25 images on each movie, and that also was 2 days. So it's a lot more, but I could reuse some of the boards I've been doing. And it ended up before it ended. I don't remember exactly how it was, but I think the way he needed he had some last changes because the idea developed and it got better and better, and I have to go to the meeting. Can you give me those in a couple of hours or something like that? So what ended up in is like a collage of many different drawings from the different boards put together. So that's why you're gonna see there's a little bit different in quality of the line, because some I had a normal time, some I just had like make 3 pictures in an hour or something like that, and and it was done over a couple of weeks, I think. So yeah, that's it. That's the story behind it. And let's see. Yep, this is done digitally, and we start in the living room. I think also we started with the whole family. It was like 2 parents and 2 children, but we ended up with 2 children. So and the boy in the family was gonna do the obvious. He was going to be playing video games. But I think one of the images here is from the first storyboard we did, and that was actually the father. So that's why he's here. He's sitting with a iPad, but later you will see he has a PlayStation controller or Xbox. Okay, but we start with a sister sitting in the living room, and she's watching one famous what's her name? Sophia something. She's a well-known blogger. So yeah. So she's reading her stuff on her cell phone, iPhone, I think. And then we have the brother playing online game. And then we see the sister just closer. She's into it, and then suddenly something is coming through the wall. And that is that blogger, and the idea was that it's the video game character. So this is like the 2 worlds that the children are enjoying on the bandwidth. The 2 worlds are fighting at each other. That's the idea behind it. And they jumping through the wall, so they're entering our world. And then she jumps up and kicks the Halo guy. Of course, it wasn't Halo guy in the in the end, but we used that in the storyboards to make it understandable for everybody involved. And the thing is that the people in the background, they don't pay notice. It's like they're not there. It's just visualization of their internet use. So that's why I added this again, just a copy of the same, just to see that they don't pay notice to them. They just continue doing what they do. And then let's call him Halo guy. The Halo guy is in front of or passing through in the air one of the persons in the background, and I just added this one. This is how I usually draw. Sometimes more, sometimes less helplines, but it's like working with clay, and then I just clean it like this later. So how nice the finishing is depend on the time I have. So usually I use half an hour on each image. So I usually use a stopwatch. And let's say I know that I'm gonna have 3 hours or 2 hours left and I'm finished. I'm gonna use those 2 extra hours to clean those drawings. That's most important. And then he hits the wall and the bookshelf, and he and the woman who Sophia, which is the name of the blogger, she just I think she has a lot of. I'm not really. I don't really know the details of her, but I think she has a lot of cosmetic tips and tricks and things like that, and makeup and so on. So yeah, tips like that on her blog, and I think that's what we're playing into here. What she's known for. So she's starting doing her thing, and that's makeup. And Halo guy is up again. And the boy is playing game. He don't care about what's happening. The Halo guy close up, a little bit undershot to make action, and then close up on her again, and she don't care because she's doing her makeup. And then he shoot, and then he hits her mirror, and then she's annoyed. And then she takes off a bazooka, of course, and shoots him. But he deflects it with his gun, and it hits the wall and up in the roof and down in the wall again, and she get hit and bang, and falls into the Halo guy's arm. And then they fall in love because he saved her. So end the battle for bandwidth. Yeah, and then a pack shot. So yeah, and there's the logo and things like that. This is like the TV screen and the cell phone screen. So we reflect the screens that the children were using in the commercial. And I also would like to add that this is not a shooting board. This is the development of the ideation of the concept. So this is how we landed the idea, and yeah, this is where I left the project. I think the director used this board. He just added information and made. Usually, the director also make a director's lookbook or pitch. So then they're gonna have a lot more information, and the DP will also help them. But yeah, this was the board I did for this project. So let's see the film. There.
Boom.
Alle vinner når bredbåndet er uslåelig. Med 100% fiber fra Altibox får alle mer enn nok kapasitet til underholdningen sin.
Yeah, I don't know if you understood anything, but that is Norwegian. So yeah. Yeah, I hope you enjoy that. I'm going to continue doing this, and going to get better and better. It's some hiccups and some startup problems with equipment and me not used to doing this, and yeah, but I getting better, and I try out different stuff, and yeah, so the format might change a little bit over time, but this is a start, and I'm going to continue this for a little while to go through my old storyboards with film examples. And then later I will going to make some tutorials, and I also planning on making a course on Udemy on the basic storyboarding for commercials, which I haven't started yet, but I'm going to base it on a lecture I did for a school, a school of art in Norway, which I lecturing one time a year I have a lecture about it's like an introduction to storyboarding and filmmaking, and they end up doing a project with a film. It used to be Super 8, but this year we tried something new. It was a YouTube film, so it was a social film. Yeah. I also used to lecture at a couple other schools. So I'm gonna use the things I did there and develop it further, and out of that I'm gonna structure a course. So I'm gonna come back to that later. Yeah. Yes. This started because of Corona, actually. Not a big surprise, I guess. But I was planning to do this for a while, and so I had a lot of stuff that I started to be working on. I've actually been working on with things that I use now for about a year. But I didn't, with the progress I had now in between work, I was thinking about being able to do this in half year or even more. But then Corona happened and quarantine, and here I am. Yeah, my family is safe, and I hope your family is safe too. And let's get through this time, and let's take care of each other. There's no me, there's only we. Like that. Somebody said that on YouTube. And I agree with that. And yeah, that was me for today. Take care, and I hope you come back. And if you like my show, please feel free to subscribe. And if you also click on the notice button, you will get noticed when I have new content. And if you have some things you're wondering about or things you would like to ask, just feel free to contact me in the contact info, or just comment in the YouTube, and I will get back to you. Okay? Take care, and goodbye, and good night, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. And until next time, take care. Ha det bra.